Hey, what's up everybody? Time for another build video. This time I'm using Firebirds Finery along with the mainly Energy Twister and Disintegrate. So let's get right to the skills. My primary is Disintegrate with Convergence for fire damage. Now this is a fire damage build, but the strange thing is that I do not have any fire enhancing gear, so no fire damage increase anywhere. You'll see that's kind of prevalent with all my videos. I try to keep all of that out, and on top of that, all my videos everybody just like makes suggestions. The reason why I make these videos for the most part is because you could do whatever you want. You could take a look and you could be like, well, I would change this and that and that. I understand completely. I'm using stuff that I know that isn't. I'm just trying out different things to see how it works, and that's about it. So anyway, that's all besides the point. To the skills, Disintegrate, Convergence, along with Hydra. This time I'm not using any rune at all. I know that I should probably be using Mammoth Hydra. The thing is though is that this doesn't stack. So I tried out Blazing Hydra, which does stack, but that only works on enemies that don't move. And so I decided to go no rune. Try it out. It seems to work pretty well. I mean, nothing crazy, but really, if you want to, you could go with Mammoth Hydra. I'm not going to blame you. And then finally, Energy Twister. I do have two pieces of gear that make this extremely powerful. It boosts the power. On one of my previous videos I also used this, but it was a different set and everything like that. So Gale Force, of course, with 3 fire damage, 3 damaging skills, and then 3 enhancing skills. All Conjuration. I'm using Energy Armor with Prismatic Armor for defense, because this is kind of a squishy build, but I do also want it for Glass Cannon. Using Familiar with Spark Flint for the fire damage and 10% bonus and increased damage. And Force Weapon with Magic Weapon. The reason why I'm using Force Weapon is it seems to do a little better with that extra 10% increased damage rather than using Ignite, which just gives me a chance to burn them up for 300 over 3 seconds. Now, this is after testing. So, Ignite works really well. Force Weapon just seems to do things a little quicker, so I do like that because I am trying to ignite as many enemies as possible. Finally, for passive skills, I'm using Conflagration for a higher critical chance. Now, I do have a pretty good critical chance. It's about 50%. So this will just get it over that 50% hump and then just allow me to do more and more damage, which also, I believe, I don't know, you could correct me on this, but I think more damage equals faster burn time as far as criticals go. So anyway, Glass Cannon, I could go with Audacity if I expect to get close. But I'm going Glass Cannon because I will be hitting enemies farther than 15 yards away. And then Unwavering Will because I will be channeling Disintegrate quite a bit. And actually, the more I channel, the more powerful I get. Not only because of Disintegrate, but because of a set bonus that I get from a ring and amulet. You know, I'll show you that here in a second. And then Blur finally because I'm a Stone Cold Pimp. So for the gear, I'm using Serpent Sparker to give me that second Hydra. For my offhand, I'm using Edge Sigil. This is actually one of my favorite new legendaries because it makes it so that you can cast Arcane Torrent, Disintegrate, and Ray of Frost, and it'll also cast anything else that you have set up in your skill bar. So it will cast Hydra, but not as often. More often than not, it'll cast anything else. It is kind of random, though, so if you have a whole bunch of different skills, it will randomly cast it. So sometimes if you have Meteor, it won't even cast a Meteor for a good 5 seconds or something. So the less that you have, the more chance that you have to cast it. And then on top of that, if you cast Hydra, or 2 Hydras in my case, it seems to not want to cast it anymore. It'll just cast Energy Twister. So for this legendary, I try to really bring it down to 2 skills on top of the Disintegrate, Torrent, Arcane Torrent, or Ray of Frost. So anyway, I do have the 6-piece bonus, but only using 5 pieces because I'm using the Ring of Royal Grandeur of Firebirds set. They tweaked it. I kind of liked it before, but also this is very good too. I like the explosion that they had. I wish they kept that. They took that away, and now the more enemies that you burn, the more damage you do. So it gives it a spin on the mechanics of the total set. I do like it. A little underwhelming at first. After a while, it can get very powerful, as you'll see. I'm using Aquila Cuirass just because my primary resources really don't get used at all. So this will give me a 50% damage reduction. The belt is Hergbrash's Binding, and that allows me to indefinitely cast Disintegrate, which makes it so that I don't ever have to worry about arcane power. And this is one of the two pieces that I was talking about for Arcane Twister. Ransler's Folly. Energy Twister periodically pulls in lesser enemies within 30 yards. Now this is actually a very, very powerful legendary, especially for bracers too. Since bracers typically don't get really good legendary powers, this one is immensely powerful because it pulls in everything but bosses and elites, but that's most of your enemies, into a very tight group. And since I'm wanting to burn as many people as possible, this will suck everybody in and then hit them with the twister, and then on top of that I'm disintegrating right through the middle of that, and everybody will burn very quick. And then once all those, like say 10 enemies get burned, immediately my damage goes up by 250%. So you can see where this goes very well, and I'll show you with Kanai's Cube I got the other piece. Also, this is my second set. I have the Endless Walk, and I wanted to try this out. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It actually helps in a lot of situations. It's just it's not the maximum for damage, it's not the maximum for defense, but it does actually work pretty well for both increasing damage and defense. It's kind of random. There's a mechanic to it. As you can see right now, I'm at 100% increased damage because I've been standing still for so long. But if I move, you see that goes down and then the defense goes up. So if you're running around a lot, you'll get very defensive. If you're standing still, your damage will keep increasing. And that ties in with Disintegrate very well, because the longer I cast Disintegrate, the more damage it does, up to 890%. So with both of those, that at max and this at max, it actually becomes very powerful, because it does seem a little underwhelming at Torment 10, which I'm running on. And that's about it. Oh yeah, ancient or legendary gems. I'm using Enforcer to increase the damage of my pets. Bane of the Trap. This actually doesn't help too much. I probably should change this out, but I decided to screw it. If things get too close, then they're going to take some extra damage. And also my Enchantress has some spells that are crowd control, so that'll help. And finally, Bane of the Powerful. This is just for increased elite damage, because any elite damage that you can get on Torment 10 without completely breaking a build really helps. And then also, after I kill an elite, I'll get that extra 20% increased damage for 1 minute. Actually, that gets very high if you keep ranking it up. So that's the build in general. 50% crit chance, 400% critical hit damage, 70% area damage. I wish that was higher. 100% would be great. But overall, nothing too crazy with the overall build. As you can see, after I buff, I have 2 million damage, 50 million toughness, and recovery of 9 million. Most of my recovery is actually from life per hit. I don't really care for life per kill as much as I do life per hit for higher torments. So let's go look at the cube, and what I have for my weapon is the Twisted Sword. Energy Twister damage is increased by 150% for each energy twister you have out. Now, the most typically I think I could have is about 7 energy twisters at one time, which is about the equivalent of around 1,000%. I haven't whipped out the whole calculator, done in my head. Let's see here, that's 6. Let's see, 450, 900. Over 1,000 damage. Okay, there we go, I did it. Over 1,000% increase in damage for all those twisters, and that's huge, especially if you want to light enemies on fire. Mainly, they're random. You could do certain things with it, but for a fire build, you're kind of stuck with this, which actually increases the damage even more when they get hit by it by 15% for 4 seconds. For my armor, I have Tasker and Theo. That just pretty much increases the damage of my Hydras by 50% because they attack 50% faster. So it just helps them out a bit, along with Enforcer for the 22% damage increase. And finally, Unity. And the reason why I use Unity is that my Enchantress also has Unity, and she has the focus that allows her not to die. So that's a 50% damage reduction right there. So I got 50 off my chest, 50 from Unity, and also if I'm running around a lot, I'll get another 50. So I get very tough, especially when I'm moving. So that helps with the squishiness of the general squishiness of the wizard. So let's get right out to showing you how this works. Now, when I play this build, what I try to do is ignite as many enemies as I can. Like, if it's a small group, I'll ignite them and just kind of cheese it. And then also on elites, what I'll do with them is I'll ignite them and then just kill any weaker enemies around them, because they automatically give me a 600% damage increase. And here, as you see, everything gets pulled in. The more I ignite, the faster I kill shit, and then the more damage the 3,000 the burn damage does. And right here I'll ignite these guys. Now I'm automatically up at 600% increased damage. And when that happens, I can kind of just burn these guys down. Depending, sometimes I cannot stand and tank it, but I can kite, and then as I kite I'll get more defensive. So if they're using more range stuff, then ooh, I hear one of these guys. I'm gonna put up a couple hydras. One thing that's neat is that you can actually cast hydras whenever you want. It does help, and that way you're not going to cast them. But see how I'm only fighting one target? The damage drop off is pretty good because of a single target. So this is definitely a group or multi-target build that where it really shines when you got huge amounts of enemies. And it really helps. Well, it really works with both the... Oh, hey, 570, nice. It really works well with both the trash mobs and the elites, because the elite damage gets so high, as you see there, those guys, since I had so many enemies burning. Once you get so many enemies burning, it's essentially an instant burn for when you hit other guys until they die. But very powerful build and actually very fun. Really, you don't even have to cast Hydra. I mean, I really don't. I haven't been except for that one point. So whenever they pop up, cool, they're there for extra damage. I love those huge pulls too because damage goes through the roof. And it's just a very fun build. I highly recommend it. And also, yeah, you could completely change it up to the point where it gets very, very powerful. With 100% increase in fire damage, you'd be melting shit pretty fast, especially when you start getting the bonus damage. So, and then on top of that, you could use Mammoth Hydra to just keep a constant flame down, or you know, different strings of flame all over where the enemies are standing. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. That's pretty much it. I don't have too much else to say about it, except for my next video. I already got it kind of planned out. I'm going to build a Delzier's set along with something similar to this. That way I could kind of make a bubble blender. That might even be what I call it. But here's a big group. And they're kind of spread out too, but as you see, the energy twisters pull them in so rapidly, it's pretty easy to ignite them all. And then let them burn. And then the more you have burning, the faster everything will die. So at a certain point, you want to move away and then start igniting others before the other ones die, or else you'll lose that. Jeez, a little crowded here. But yeah, very fun build that I highly recommend. At least you try, you know, if you have some of the gear and everything. Now here, with huge amounts of enemies, it just becomes more and more powerful to the point where just Disintegrate alone will ignite them and then rapidly kill them. And the longer you stand in one spot, it's not a problem at all. So I have not even tried this on a higher torment level. Probably because I'd get smoked because of squishiness, but since the pull helps out so much with the lesser enemies, they shouldn't be a problem. It'd really come down to the elites, and CCs would really help. So this could be... I have not tried it yet in like Torment 10 rifts or anything with other people to see how well, because the problem is people are so fucking powerful these days with some of the sets. They just get so insane that they could do one move and clear the screen, and that's no fun for anybody. And that's the kind of the way to... That's 9 out of 10 games. So I'm just ranting now, but alright, so wow, almost 200 kills. Oh, there's 200. Vicious 200 kills. And the reason why I got so high with that is that 3.5 multiplier is because the enemies that are burning will maintain that kill streak. So even though they're not dying, it'll keep resetting the timer on it. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, and if you enjoy anything else or this video enough, make sure to subscribe. I got a lot more coming out. Still fleshing out the wizard builds and sets. After this, I'll head on over to the Witch Doctor. I already got several sets of his. I think I need to make one more setup, but that's easy enough. And then we'll go from there, do the Witch Doctor, and then move on maybe to the Demon Hunter. Actually, I got one piece of a Demon Hunter I just picked up. I'm like, because I didn't even know they added this set. Impale deals an additional 40,000 damage. Are you fucking kidding? I gotta go for that at some point, but that's kind of down the road, videos away. But thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.